Now, once you've read the game as far as what the kids need, and you can only do this next step, determine objectives, after you see the kids and you have an idea what you're working with, all right, you're going to need to start getting some big picture ideas. Now, a couple of things you can do. You can break up your objectives into these categories, and just a few of them would be, you can have objectives for the team, the entire team, ball possession. Okay, we need to hold the ball better. We need to make better decisions of when to pass, when to dribble. Groups, what are our back players, midfield players, top players, the wingers going to be doing? We have some objectives for them. And then individuals. So certain individuals can have objectives separate from everyone else. You can have your objectives divided up within the main moments. So when the opponents have the ball, what do we want to do? Do we want to get everyone to move forward, defend very high, or do we want everyone to drop back as a unit? Okay, so you can divide up in those main moments. You can have short-term, long-term goals. So something for the team this season. We can have, obviously, an objective just for a couple of practices. Well, this is what we need to do over the next couple of practices. We need to learn how to use a neutral player in a game because the kids have never seen it. So we're going to use a neutral player as a tool, and over these next 2 or 3 practices, the kids will get to understand what that does to the numbers on the field. Long-term, you may have a child, you're coaching 10-year-olds, and you realize you got a kid that has some talent, and at 12, 13, 14, maybe this is a candidate for the ODP team. So we need to now have some long-term goals for this one child to say, okay, you're a right-footed player. We are going to have you play some on the left side, and we're going to give you instructions, try to beat players, see what it's like on that side. Because when you get to that higher level, at ODP, things like that, you may be competing with somebody on the right side, and this may be something you need to develop long-term. A lot of coaches will develop technical and tactical objectives. This is what we want to work on. We're going to work on dribbling, we're going to work on passing, we're going to work on tackling, things of that nature. Tactical. Okay, as I said, everybody's going to push up. We're going to work on a high-pressure game. We're going to work on a counter-attacking game, things of that nature. Now, here are a couple of things that start to crop up in setting objectives that can start to give coaches problems, and especially parent coaches that are maybe not aware of it. It's the half-full, half-empty thing. That's one. You look at kids playing, 10, 11, 12 years of age, and it doesn't take a genius to list all the things they can't do. You sit there and you can have 3 or 4 pages of all the things you observe. Well, they can't pass, this one can't run, that player can't defend, we can't do this, we can't do that. And it gets to be just this never-ending list of negative comments. That's the glass half empty. Half full is, you know what we can do? We have a bunch of enthusiastic kids, they love playing the game, they like working together, let's build off of that. Let's find 1 or 2 things that they're pretty good at, that they're comfortable with, and use that as a launching board for these other objectives. So you have a situation in coaching where you can come out and you want to do all the things they can't do. Well, guess what? That's going to start to get old pretty quick. Or let's do the things we can do well, and then we'll start to slowly move in those areas where maybe we have some weaknesses. Another problem for coaches is some coaches will let the opponents dictate the objectives to them. And so you have coaches that are so afraid of losing. Especially you see this in teams in the upper levels in leagues where promotion and relegation is a real certainty, and they're playing against a team and they realize, well, these guys are good. Well, I've got to take my best players and put them in the back, and we have to defend, and hopefully we can get a goal at the other end, and just keep them out. So we're going to looking for 0-0, or maybe we can sneak 1 goal, and we're going to win 1-0. Well, the problem is that starts to get to be the routine, or can, and letting those opponents dictate the objectives means that maybe you're keeping the team, in this case, at a level they shouldn't be at. Maybe they shouldn't be there. If they go down, maybe they have an opportunity to play more, and to play at a little more creative level, and they can learn some. Now, bias and assumptions, everybody has a bias. It goes with the territory. You have it when you walk out on the field. You have a certain way you look at things. And that fosters certain assumptions about how things should be, how things should look. You want to be careful that these don't cloud your view of what's going on the objectives. It's the same thing, really, as saying the camera projector. A person that projects onto the game, when they're reading the game, has a very strong bias, and they say, this is the way it's going to be. I don't care what's actually there. This is the way it has to be, because that suits my view of the game. Now that you have all these objectives worked out about all the things that you want to get done, when your team's in possession, when they're not in possession, what the backs have to do, the top players, midfielders, the team as a whole, your star striker, your worst player, all of these different things, long-term, short-term, you need to simplify it. You need to start categorizing things and setting them into some priorities. What is the most important thing you need to achieve? And you especially want to take into account the amount of resources that you're going to have long-term and short-term. Right? Once you have the most important priority, what's going to come next? As a coach, it really helps if your priorities flow, your objectives flow from one into another. Now, there's different ways to do that. You can work on dribbling from a technical point of view, and then flip it right around and work on tackling from the opposite end. You can work on, in possession, dribbling skills, and then developing the passing skills as well. But you're going to need to do something where your priorities are set and one flows out of the other. Otherwise, it's going to be throwing aspirins at problems, and hopefully something sticks. Now, keep in mind, you're going to need a lot of patience. There's the orientation phase that kids go through, the big problems phases, the little problems phases, and you're going to need to be patient enough to let these priorities, to let your practices, to let your games and the instructions actually have an influence on the players, and it's going to take time.